Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I am DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
On every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes Mouthwashing and Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yep, that's the whole name.
It just rolls off the tongue.
I was having such an issue with this name because I was streaming it last week, doing a bunch of social posts about it, so I always feel the inclination. I was like, I should do like a kind of a funny like riff on it. And I feel like there's just nothing you can do with that because it's so just like directly what the game is about. Like that would be my instinct almost. So it's like, yeah, we're playing the game about the pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Oh, that's the title of the game. Well, that's no fun anymore. Apparently somebody at Sega reached the same conclusion. They just gave up. And they're like, oh, let's just call it Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii because we don't know what to do with this.
I mean, there's a lot of like weird naming convention issues with the Like a Dragon Yakuza series anyways.
Yes. Yes, it's not without naming issues.
Yes. So it is not surprising that this one is a bit of a mess. The title of this one, just to be clear, I've not played the game, but the title of this one is a mess.
It is, yeah. It's been a struggle for the last 2 or 3 installments to just figure out what to call this thing. I think everybody is like pretty on board with it at this point. I still just call them Yakuza games because that's easier to say. But this one doesn't even make sense. It's like Yakuza, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It's like, yeah. I think it's in Japan, I forget what the Japanese title is. I think it's just Pirate in Hawaii or Yakuza in Hawaii. It's missing one of the words from the English title.
Pirate seems like the keyword.
I think it's I think it's just Pirate in Hawaii. But that's terrible. It's just Pirate in Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe it sounds better in Japanese.
You know this better than I do, but historically, what in America we call the Yakuza games, well, in a lot of places we call the Yakuza games, they were called Like a Dragon forever, right?
Yes.
In Japan.
Yeah.
And only recently have they just changed the name everywhere to be Like a Dragon. But it does not seem that Sega is confident that people know what that is, because they made a point of jamming the word Yakuza in the title here.
I think it just sounds funny. It's still a funny subtitle, even though it's very like literal in this case. So I don't know if that was just for like branding reasons.
Yeah.
I feel like I was sort of impressed actually that they seem to be over it. Like with the last one, it was Like a Dragon. Oh no, I don't even know. It was like Yakuza Like a Dragon. But by the time Infinite Wealth rolled around, they were fully over the Yakuza thing. They're just going with Like a Dragon. In fact, with the sub-story, with the Kiryu thing, that was even more surprising because that was only called Like a Dragon. And then it had its own subtitle, but they left the Yakuza thing completely out, despite that being Kiryu being sort of like the old guard of the series.
Yeah, despite, the delineation between kind of old Yakuza games and new Yakuza games becoming even more blurry by bringing the protagonist from the old games into the new game and giving him most of the screen time.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, like in Japan, they probably aren't even aware that this is going on because it's just the same name that it's always had.
Right. They just call it Biohazard.
Yes. Oh, man. Everything is just... another Biohazard spin-off over there. Yep.
Resident Evil in Hawaii.
Oh, can you imagine if they did a funny Resident Evil spin-off? God, what I wouldn't give for just a little levity with that series.
I mean, there is some high comedy in that series, but yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. I think there's just so much opportunity for that across every video game series, probably.
I think it's time for Yakuza to do a zombie game again. I think we should revisit that.
I think, they've been doing so many remakes and like re-releases of these things that I feel like that comes up frequently. They're like, when are they going to re-release? What is it? of the end or whatever. And it seems like people are not really fans of that game. So I wouldn't get my hopes up.
Dead Souls. Yakuza Dead Souls, isn't it?
Dead Souls. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That may have been the Japanese title.
But I don't know. That was way before I got involved in consuming and collecting Like a Dragon / Yakuza games. So
yeah, no, that was before I really got into it either. I was just like, I was aware of it, and I maybe attempted to play it once, but before it really stuck with me, the zombie game came out, or I probably would have played it. Who knows?
But anyways, yeah, we'll get to that. Mouthwashing is its own weird title. I suppose we'll talk about that as well.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know what they call that in Japan.
Yeah, I don't have any jokes prepared. I'm sorry. You got to give me the setups in advance. I can write things down. That way it seems kind of off the cuff.
Okay. I mean, we could just hit pause on the recording. You could go brainstorm for 5 minutes and come back with the whole list. Yeah.
Quick, we'll go around the table at the writer's room.
Yeah. Listeners don't need to know how we make this show. It takes us 12 hours to do one of these episodes.
Yeah.
No idea how much time we spent in the writer's room.
75-minute episode.
They're actually entirely scripted.
There was somebody on Reddit in the podcasting subreddit who was looking for recommendations for very long podcasts. And I was
what is very long?
Well, that was my, how long is very long? And he said 2 hours or more.
Okay.
As well, because I normally look for any reason to shill Video Game Hangover to the people on Reddit. But I'm like, we don't have very many 2-hour plus episodes. But nearly all of our Christmas episodes, the Drunktaculars, are kind of over 2 hours. So
yeah.
I was like, we do generally a little over an hour, but here, the sweet spot is the last episode of every season. I don't know if he checked it out or not, but he specifically said he likes video games.
Okay, well, that's good.
I'm like, have I got a show for you?
I don't know if we talked about video games at all in the most recent Christmas episode, but
do you also like Taco Bell?
Yeah. There's usually, I feel like there's a good overlap typically.
We talk about that a lot. Yeah.
Should we just drop a 2.5-hour episode every once in a while?
Just in as a favor to that guy?
Yeah, I mean, pick up that the 2.5-hour demographic.
Yeah. We should do some 5-minute episodes and some 2.5-hour episodes just to
keep people on their toes.
Right. Yeah. And you don't know which one it will be until you listen.
Yeah. Check out this podcast. I don't know how long it's going to be. Don't know what they're talking about.
Do people still is there still a market for the little 15-minute micro podcasts? Is that still a thing out there?
Oh, I think so. I think you have to do a lot of those though. If it's 15 minutes, that's probably a daily show.
You can't go bi-weekly, right? That's the
just 15 minutes every 2 weeks. That's all I got.
One of the ones I always like we're going back into the annals of podcasting history here. The Judge John Hodgman, he would assess a verdict on something in pop culture or history, and I always thought those were super funny. And they were all 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I discovered it a couple of years into him doing it. So I had all of this 10-minute long content that I could just I listened to 40 episodes of John Hodgman today. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. We detoured.
I could see doing a 10-minute daily thing. I don't even know what it would be. It would just be me complaining about, I don't know, whatever. There's always something to complain about in video games. Problem is, then I would need to, put out a podcast episode every single day. It's a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah. Produce, upload, yada, yada. Really require an intern.
Yeah. Oh, you could just hit record and, dump it directly onto YouTube. Don't worry about the production at all. That would give me anxiety, though.
People listen to us cough and say for 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, they don't need that. I don't need that being out there.
Correct. Back to video games.
Anyway.
There was one. That one was free. You should join our Patreon for more of those.
Yeah.
Streaming announcement. We should talk about a game we're going to stream coming up on Monday, March 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, the Monday night streams.
Yeah.
We will be checking out a new game called Wanderstop. What is Wanderstop? This is the new cozy game from the creator of the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide. Two games that I would think I could safely say that you and I like very much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of a detour for him, but it seems really cool. You run a very mysterious tea shop, and people come into your shop, and you have to find the right brew of tea for them. I don't know anything much more than that. The game is not out yet. It will barely be out by the time we play it for you all. But tune in Monday night for us to check that out together.
Yeah. I am looking forward to it. It looks so different from his other stuff that I am curious if this is not one of those, like maybe he just put his name on it or something. Maybe he's like executive producing or something. I don't know. I should look more into it. He's
the writer.
Oh,
yes, yeah.
Okay.
There is a trailer for Wanderstop. We'll find the link. I'll put it in the show notes if anyone's curious, but it should be easy to find. That is narrated by Davey Weidron, who's the writer of those previous games.
Oh, excellent.
And he talks a bit about like where he was at in his career and what led him to this, and that this seems like an unusual choice for him, but here's kind of what influenced him to want to participate in making a cozy game. On the surface,
so this has all been explained.
Yeah, to a degree.
Okay.
Yeah. But so yeah, on the surface, I think this looks very much like a what you call it, a social sim, an Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley adjacent kind of experience. But I'm curious to see what his kind of influence over that might be.
Yeah. Maybe like 2 or 3 customers in, it'll just turn into a spiral of self-loathing or something.
Yes, both Beginner's Guide and Stanley Parable were surprising experiences, and both quite full of interesting detours narratively. So I wonder if Wanderstop will feel similar.
Yeah. That's what's most intriguing about it to me, is that it's like I don't see. It just looks completely separated from the other 2 games that I know him for. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Join us, won't you? Monday, March 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Go to twitch.tv/VGHangover. DJ and I will go live. It is just a single-player game, but we'll be playing it together and kind of talking through our experience. So we'd love to have you with us.
Yeah, we'll be doing one of those speed run races through the demo. We'll both be trying to get through it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, split screen, fast forward.
Make as much tea in 90 minutes as we can.
I wonder if people don't know when we're joking.
Well, it's supposed to be a very confusing show, if that's the case.
So yeah, that is coming up on Monday. Last Monday, however, you played Yakuza, right?
Yes.
I should be more specific, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yes. Played a bit of that.
Tell me a bit about that, if you don't mind.
Well, I should preface this by saying I've also been playing a ton of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Because I wanted to just cross this off the list, get through it before Monster Hunter came out, because it's just this enormous game that I left unfinished last year, despite really enjoying. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't really need to play this, especially not just to play the Pirate Yakuza demo, but I felt like, I want to see it through. And man, over the last 2 weeks, I have developed such a weird relationship with not even just this game, but this whole series, because I have had such a good time with playing all these games over the last I don't know how long. And this is not new information to anyone who's played one of these, but Infinite Wealth especially is so long. It's just, there's so much game there. it's long, or it's just like vast in pretty much every dimension. Like the story is very long. It's it's like a JRPG essentially. So there's just so much like grinding and party development you can do. There's all the side quests. There's just like there's mini games. It's a huge thing,
which is fairly consistent with the Yakuza Like a Dragon games in that sense.
Yes, it's always sort of been the case. They've definitely been like getting longer as the series has gone on. And whether that's just through the inclusion of more mini games, I think the stories have definitely gotten more drawn out. The new JRPG aspect certainly doesn't help with it.
Right.
Because, now you have to like grind battles for experience and level up your guys and buy them new equipment and everything. So that's just a whole other level on top of everything. And I just found myself thinking like, I am really enjoying this, but I just like, I want it to end. Like I can't just play this game for the rest of my life. I can't remember the last time I've been like this conflicted about a game that I still think that I liked playing. And another thing about it is that so Infinite Wealth is the new protagonist. It's Ichiban. He goes to Hawaii, the new setting for the series. And at the beginning of the game, you're just doing stuff with Ichiban. And then Kiryu shows up, the previous series protagonist, and he's in your party for a while, I wasn't sure how to feel at the beginning because I thought we were done with this guy, as much as I like Kiryu. But I had sort of I was like, okay, I kind of like him as like this sort of supporting party member who's like the veteran Yakuza who's teamed up with Ichiban. But then like halfway through the game, he just gets his own party and he goes back to Japan, and then you're basically it's like the dual protagonist system from Yakuza 0, and then you just alternate chapters playing as Ichiban or Kiryu. Which is like, okay, that's already a lot. That's more Kiryu than I was expecting. But then because it's his own party, then you're just like managing 2 full JRPG parties. You have to level up twice as many characters and to manage their equipment. So then I was like, okay, well, this has gone beyond the point of just being like sort of a fun dual protagonist kind of thing. This is just like playing 2 games at once. This is more than I was bargaining for. And I don't know. I just feel like after a certain point, it got past the point of being sort of cute, like, ha ha ho, look how long this game is. And it was just like, oh my god, this is probably too much going on with this game.
Yeah.
And then to just like add to it, the Kiryu sections are very much the sort of like super serious, like Yakuza conspiracy stuff that the Kiryu games were sort of known for. And after a certain point, I just felt like I don't really care about what the Yakuza are doing and who's like trying to take over the organization or like reform the Japanese government or whatever. I liked the sort of like lighter Ichiban side of things. And in fact, my favorite stuff from the Yakuza games has always been like not the Yakuza stuff. Whether it was like back to the very first one, it was Kiryu sort of trying to figure out what to do with this like this orphan girl he suddenly found himself having to take care of, which I thought was going to be super cringe, but it was actually amazing. It was like super heartwarming, and that was sort of like the start of Kiryu as like this heart of gold like ex-criminal. But then there was like the orphanage plotline in Yakuza 3, and then even when Ichiban showed up, there are all these really interesting threads about how he is sort of like, he's like middle age and dealing with that. And there's like all these issues with like sort of like the role of the homeless in society, which is a really cool plot thread through Yakuza 7. Has nothing really to do with the Yakuza until they inevitably show up in the last like 20% of the game. But I just feel like, throughout the whole series, there have been all these really cool angles on it that, are not just incredibly overdone and convoluted government conspiracies that is sort of there in the first moments of the game. And then they just decide, like, oh, no, it's got to be about crime families again. And I just, like, completely drop out at that point. So I don't know what my point is. My point is, by the time I was at the end of this game, I was just like, I feel like I might be done with this series unless they really turned around with the next one.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a challenge to sustain a narrative thread for 100+ hours. I don't know how you sort of stick the landing in a way that feels satisfying, because I don't have a great track record of finishing many of these 100+ hour games. Mm-hmm. Like a Dragon, which is, I guess, Yakuza 7. I've really liked it. It was my first experience playing a Yakuza game, and I had a really, really good time with it. And I got, I think, probably to 70-ish hours, 80-ish hours, which is bonkers for me. Yeah, I had a moment where I was like, I think I've seen enough. I get it. I understand. And it once again dumped me into like an 8-minute long cutscene where people were talking about something I kind of didn't care about. Yeah, I get it. I was ready to move on, and not move on to like the next scene or encounter, but like move on to another game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's a little dicey because like I enjoy most of my experience with the games like this, or like the Persona games in particular. I enjoy and have a huge kind of affinity for or affection for. But yeah, at some point it's just like, this is way too much, guys. They need to be edited in some way. Someone should have tapped you on the shoulder and said, reel it in.
Yeah.
And I don't know who is the voice of reason. It's a producer's job, I presume. Yeah, I don't know how often or how frequently that happens with these games. It just seems like more is better.
Yes,
and I don't necessarily
exactly
agree with
thinking.
that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so conflicted though, because like the parts that, like all the Kiryu-centric parts are, without spoiling anything, he does a lot of like, I mean, okay, so spoiling a little bit. At the end of Yakuza 6, he kind of had to like disappear from society just for like mysterious Yakuza reasons. And then he spends a lot of time in Infinite Wealth sort of thinking like, maybe, it would be great if I could go back and see some of the kids I helped raise at the orphanage, or see Haruka, the orphan from the first game. Like just like reconnecting with figures from previous Yakuza games, which to me, having played most of those, is amazing, because it's basically just, okay, take Kiryu around the city and sort of reminisce. like you literally, you go to these spots, these glowing spots on the sidewalk, and the button prompt that pops up literally says reminisce, and then it plays a scene back from one of the previous games, or about one of the previous games. And it's all very like fun and nostalgic and kind of fan servicey. And I was super into that. But there's just so much of that. And it is such a complete detour from how the game begins, with Ichiban doing whatever he's trying to do in Hawaii, that it just felt like, why is this suddenly happening? It's again, it's essentially a second game that just like unfurls itself in the middle of Infinite Wealth. You think you're going to be spending the whole game with Ichiban in Hawaii, but no, there's a surprise Kiryu game that you have to keep going back to off and on. And to me, I was like, as a Kiryu fan, I was like enjoying it, but I think like, I was trying to imagine like, oh, Randy's playing this game too. I don't think any of this is going to land with him, or like anybody who's gotten into the series more recently. In fact, there was a character from Yakuza 4, which I haven't played, and when he showed up, I was like, okay, I'm not getting any of this. So imagine this sort of like muted reaction, but to everything else that's happened in the last 15 hours. Right. It's going to be tough for a lot of people.
Yeah. I didn't get to this point in Infinite Wealth, and I think I probably would have been deeply confused. And it might have been the I've seen enough moment for me, honestly, in this game. But
yeah, I think so. Like, it's all optional, or it's like sort of optional. You know, they tell you stuff is optional, but sometimes it turns out that like, oh no, you were actually supposed to do that. Because if you don't, you won't be leveled up enough or whatever. Yeah. But I feel
the rest of the game hinges on you making a choice that you didn't make.
Yeah. I did all of it. As I complain about this game being too bloated.
But you get the references at least, right? There's at least some gold to mine there.
Yeah, I wanted to do that, but at the same time, I was just like, okay, I legitimately do want to see all the little Kiryu reminiscing scenes. But I would like to get out of this game before the timer counts over 100 hours. Because like Monster Hunter was coming out in a week at that point. I was just like, there is an actual time limit in terms of how much time I had left to finish this game. It's getting stressful. So yeah, I just sort of walked away from this game thinking like, oh man, I'm going to seriously reevaluate whether I play Yakuza 9. And then I just spun immediately into Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, which is like, oh my god, what am I doing?
Which is not Yakuza 9.
No, this is like, I guess at this point they do one of the big like mainline games and then one of these sort of spin-offs. Which you would think, like the same thing happened with the Kiryu spin-off, where it was kind of a side story, like a little coda for Kiryu, and it was maybe 20 hours long, which is like, for a side story, that's pretty long. But this one, I've heard it's like maybe 40 or 50 hours.
Wow.
I'm
sorry, by this one you mean Pirate Yakuza.
Pirate Yakuza, yeah, the full thing. I just played the demo on the stream. So I went into this kind of like a bad taste in my mouth from Infinite Wealth. Although this one looked like it's going to be so different. Because it's no longer a JRPG, it's no longer turn-based anyway. It goes back to more of the like real-time like brawler combat from the early Yakuza games. You're playing as Goro Majima, who is a fairly significant, who has been a fairly significant character throughout the series. It's the guy with the eye patch and the like leopard print vest. I think you may have run into him in 7.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. I know who he is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Everybody knows Majima. So you're playing as him, which is
that is the rejected name for this game, by the way.
Everybody knows. Yeah. Everybody loves Majima. Yeah. That would be good. So it takes place after Infinite Wealth, which I really don't think you need to have played Infinite Wealth to be able to appreciate this, but I think that he at the beginning he makes some reference to like, oh yeah, I was in that big battle, and I was like, oh, when did that happen? Because I think at that point I hadn't actually gotten to that point in Infinite Wealth, but whatever. And they didn't really explain how he arrives in the situation, but in the demo he's already in Hawaii. He's got amnesia, I think. And some weird
that old yarn.
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing for the Yakuza series, so whatever. They get to do the amnesia thing once or twice. But he's in Hawaii. He's got a pirate ship for some reason. And there's like, his crew is following him. There's like a little kid and some old guy. It's very quick on exposition. Maybe the mainline series could learn something from the demo. But I was expecting this to be, I mean, I don't know if this is even the case, but I was expecting something like the zombie game or the sort of like ancient Japan spin-offs where it's a complete fantasy scenario. But now I'm thinking like, oh, maybe this is just what happens to Majima after Infinite Wealth. I don't know. But anyway, he's in Hawaii. He's got sort of his like fighting style from Yakuza 0 combined with a new pirate fighting style, which is sort of like the dual cutlass, and he's got some sort of pistol.
Mad Dog and Sea Dog DJ.
There you go. Wow. Okay. So yeah, everybody knows Majima's famous Mad Dog and Sea Dog fighting stances. He's got some kind of grappling hook. And you just use those in like the real-time battles, and that was fine. After you do a couple of those, it dumps you off into Hawaii and explains that you're free to go do mini games or whatever. Like, I think you can just like play darts and go to the batting cages and all that stuff. And I thought, well, that's great. If I wanted to do that, I would have spent 50 hours doing that in Infinite Wealth. What else is new?
We have a game for that already.
Yeah. So after a little bit of Majima dress-up, which was much more involved, I mean, there's never really been dress-up to this degree in a Yakuza game, so that was unique. That was kind of fun. I spent much more time doing that than I was expecting to in the demo. But after that, you get shipped off to this sort of pirate island, and you end up in this coliseum where pirate ships face off against each other in these naval engagements, which feels like the sort of flagship, if you'll pardon the pun, sort of new content in Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is the ship duels. Because there seems to be like, I mean, it already feels like there's way too much going on with these things. Like, even in the demo, you go to the little ship arena and you start it up and you pick the basic course because that's all you have access to initially. And it pops up this screen with like your crew and like this is where you do your crew management. And it was basically one of those screens from like the business minigame from Yakuza 7 or one of the Hostess Club minigames where it shows you like the whole crew roster. And then they all have like tons of separate parameters and like, I forget what it was, if it was like personality types or just their energy level, just their general mood for your pirate crew. And as soon as that screen came up, I was like, oh my god, I can't deal with this right now. I just escaped from playing Infinite Wealth, or I'm trying to escape from playing Infinite Wealth. I can't just like adopt a whole pirate crew. Fortunately, you don't have to actually do that in the demo. You can just get right into it. But I could already feel just like the tendrils of like the business management game coming in. I'm just like, now if I know if I ended up playing this, I would have to, go around and recruit, the elusive like pirate chicken or whoever who has the best stats for, I don't know, manning the cannons or whatever they do, or like leading the boarding party. And it just felt like, I don't know, at that point in the demo, I just felt very overwhelmed.
Did you get to play the ship battle thing?
I did a couple of the ship battles, and they were fine.
So I've heard that's the selling point. That is the most fun part of this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was fine. How much do you like big like warship battles? Did you play any of the Assassin's Creed games that had those?
No, that's the one that, again, everybody's sort of like, no, that's the one you should play. That's the one you need to go back to. But no, was it not Black Flag? It was called Black Flag, right?
There was one. I think they might have even been in Assassin's Creed 3 because that was sort of the like colonial America one.
Yeah. No, I don't think I played either one of those.
Yeah, I mean, they were fine. I mean, Assassin's Creed 3 was not fine, but like the ship battles just in isolation, like, they were fine. It's like, I feel like it's pretty different than anything else out there at the time. Because it's like, you're steering around this big ship. It's very slow. You have to sort of like pay close attention to how your ship is lined up with the other ships out there. Because, you want to hit them with your broadside cannons. And you can't really do that if you're just like chasing after them or whatever. But there was also all this other stuff going on, like you just had like machine guns or something facing forward, so you could just chase behind them and try and destroy their engine, I think, before pulling up alongside them to do your broadside. And then as like eventually you get their health down to a certain point, you send over the boarding party, and it just turns into like one of the typical Yakuza real-time brawls, except you have the rest of your crew there, which is kind of fun.
Oh, I was super confused, DJ. I thought you were telling me that the ships in Assassin's Creed Black Flag had engines, and I couldn't figure out what the hell.
Oh, no. At some point, I switched to Pirate Yakuza.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I don't think the ships in Assassin's Creed 3 had engines.
That would not be historically accurate. And I know
you had to like
games. love historical accuracy.
Yeah, yes. Like as soon as you fire up the engine, it's like the animus or whatever glitches out. And you're just like, no,
Right.
that's not how it worked. Now in those games, you have to like manage the sails and all that stuff. I think.
Yeah. Well, it's
is
like
that right?
Sea of Thieves, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't feel like there was as much attention to the wind in Pirate Yakuza. You could pretty much just steer wherever. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely very different from all the previous Yakuza games because none of them ever had naval encounters. Or maybe they were in Yakuza 4 and 5. I couldn't tell you. But I don't see myself playing this solely for the ship battles. I don't really know. I mean, I kind of have an idea who this is for. I don't think it's for me at this point. I feel like there are probably a lot of people out there who are excited to play as Majima for an entire game. It really leans way more into just the goofy side of things because he's kind of always been a little sillier of a character than Kiryu.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since he was in one of these.
That's kind of the proposition for Ichiban versus Kiryu too, is that he's just a little. I think you had said at one point is Ichiban is essentially kind of the human equivalent of a golden retriever, right? He's just.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I can take credit for that, but that was gets thrown around a lot.
Kind of very happy, very positive, versus Kiryu's kind of somber, melancholy, monosyllabic.
Yeah.
Kind of worldview. We're definitely skewing much further on the outgoing, goofy antics version of a Yakuza protagonist.
Yeah. And again, I can't tell if this is a dream sequence or not, but I think just the fact that they're leaning so heavily into it gives them a lot more license to be sillier. Like they got the whole dress up thing, and you could, like I already saw in the demo, there's a guy on your crew who is just in a big chicken mask. It's not an actual chicken this time, which was disappointing, but it's just a man wearing a big scary chicken mask. And then they had a couple other fun cameos from other decidedly like some of the goofier Yakuza characters from over the years on your crew. So I imagine there'll be even more of them. And I'm not sure what other sort of like silly mini games they've tossed into this, but they've got the whole Hawaii map again.
Oh wow!
I do really like that. Like they make these maps and then they kind of stick with them or revisit them over the next few games because you're like already familiar with the area. I feel like just on the dev side of things, it's nice to already have this map ready to go and use for other purposes. So that's cool. I think you can also take the ship out like into the ocean, where ships go and visit other islands. I don't know how developed that is compared to like the part of Hawaii that you explore in Infinite Wealth. But there's at least, like, some pirate sailing, I guess. I've never been super into pirates, I'll confess. So that is not enough of a draw for me to check this out. But
were you Team Ninja during the classic Ninja versus Pirates?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Team Ninja. Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah. No ninjas in this, really. Was there a ninja on the crew? I feel like 50-50, there was just a ninja in the pirate ship roster. There was a lot going on. Maybe I didn't notice. But, and then the demo just sort of, like, unceremoniously wraps up after you do the ship battle. There's, like, one more boss fight, and then it just is like, please pre-order Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And at that point, I was like, no, because I desperately need a break from these games.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does any of that sound appealing? Have you been yearning for a pirate ship battle game?
No, not necessarily. Like I said, I always have sort of that note in my head that like everyone says Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a really good one. You should go back to that one.
Yeah.
And so when it pops up sometimes, it's on Switch now. So it'll pop up on the Switch for, some crazy discounted price a couple times a year. And I'm like, is this the time that I go back and play an old Assassin's Creed game? And it never is.
I always hear that too. They're like, oh, the pirate one's actually really good. But then I have to stop and be like, okay, I need to filter that. Like, how much of that is because these people are already enormous Assassin's Creed fans, and how much of it is because people just everybody seems to love pirates. I just don't get it.
I think there is a lot of Assassin's Creed apologizing that goes on in gaming, and I try not to get roped too much into it. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to go back and play an old Assassin's Creed game. If I want to play a pirate game, I'll play Sea of Thieves, which I've played a lot of, and it's a really good, really fun game, and is kind of different every time you play it. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Well, I don't know if I'm a big fan, but if I have a pirate itch, Sea of Thieves is the one that kind of does it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I would be Team Pirate on the Pirates versus Ninja thing.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah. So we are perfectly balanced here on Video Game Hangover. Yeah. I enjoyed all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies as they were coming out, as problematic as Johnny Depp eventually became.
Is he? Oh, yeah. Yeah, never mind. Yeah. Oh, man. I forgot about that whole thing.
Yeah. But I'm fairly certain I've seen all of those. Initially, I think I went to all of those Pirates of the Caribbean movies at like midnight show opening day kind of thing. Like, was a big fan.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think I like begrudgingly watched those.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very skeptical, like, oh, they made a movie based on a Disneyland ride. Okay. How good is that going to be? But then, like, the first one, Jack Sparrow, just unbelievable performance. I think it was, like, worth it just for that alone. And then I sort of went into the other ones, like, well, the first one was surprisingly good. Maybe I'll like the second one. And, like, I was like, I don't like this one as much, and I don't think I saw any of the other ones. Did he win an Oscar for that performance?
Oh, that I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, he should have.
Yeah. That would have been his chance to get one. I think. I don't know that there's much juice in that lemon anymore to squeeze out. So, yeah. So yeah, I liked the Pirates movies. I really like Our Flag Means Death. The HBO show that unfortunately was unceremoniously canceled after 2 seasons, but that is really, really good. It's got Rhys Darby in there and Taika Waititi, and that's super funny and actually based on real history of pirates quite loosely. But there was this dude Stede Bonnet who was like a gentleman pirate who otherwise had a nice, normal, upstanding, quite privileged life. And had it with that and just wandered off one day and decided he was going to live a life of piracy.
That's like every pirate backstory that I've ever heard. It's like,
well, I think
somebody else
they all
sick.
steal from Stede Bonnet. So that's, I think, where that trope began.
People were just inspired. They're like,
right. Yeah.
If he can do it, then so can we.
Yeah. I'll just live on a ship and have scurvy.
Well, that doesn't sound great.
So yeah, I think I like pirate things in general. I like Yakuza games. I like the modern Yakuza games, but I prefer the turn-based strategy games. I don't know that I necessarily want to go back to playing one of the brawlers.
Yeah, that's another thing. I wasn't sure if you'd be into that.
Yeah.
For me, it was a very refreshing break since I've been playing so much of the turn-based one. But I don't know. I think if you really were determined to play this, I believe there's a setting where you can turn the difficulty way down.
At least
I hope there is. I hope there is now that I've said that.
But if I need Yakuza, I have tons of hours of Like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth that I could go back to if I wanted to.
Yes, yeah. This feels like you've 100%ed Infinite Wealth. And you just got nothing to do. You only want to play Yakuza Like a Dragon games. So here's something for you. Okay.
Well, interesting. I figured this could go one of 2 ways, that you would report in like, oh my God, I wasn't going to play this, but now I have to.
No.
Or, no, I'm good. I'm all right. I get it.
Yeah, I think I was already in the latter camp going into it. Even before I had gone back to Infinite Wealth, I was just like, okay, so there's this pirate game happening. It doesn't look like it's going to be my thing, but I will happily check it out for a few hours.
I have it on my list of like games I want to play in 2025, just to sort of note the release date. But I don't know that this one's going to happen.
Yeah, I would, wrap up Infinite Wealth. If you're really dying to play one of the brawler style ones, I still think like Yakuza 0 is really good. Also very long, but I think you would get more out of that than Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yeah, you've mentioned that. I feel like that might be a backlog attack for me this year.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh, okay, I'm writing that down. Randy,
I don't want to overcommit, but if I were to go back and play one of the old timey, the classic, pirate, the Yakuza experience, Yakuza 0 seems to be the one to go back to.
Yeah. I think that generally seems to be like the best one in the series, if you ask people. Oh. Man, I probably played 40 hours of Infinite Wealth over the last 2 weeks. It was disgusting.
Wow. What is your total playtime? Do you have a sense of that?
It was under 100. I was happy about that. I think it was between 80 and 90 hours, which is too much. That's like, I make all these comments about like, oh, I can't start a Persona game. They're like 80 hours long. And then I just like casually start up like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Like, oh, this will be fine. They didn't all used to be this long. They just sort of like tricked me into playing them.
I also sort of never feel like I have enough time to play one of these super long JRPGs, and then I look at my playtime for Balatro.
Well, yeah,
and it is a lot. So yeah. You make time for the games that click with you, that resonate in some way, that kind of makes time disappear, and you can squeeze it into little minutes of your day. I don't think that's going to be Pirate Yakuza for me, honestly.
No. And that's like, that was the why it was so weird playing Infinite Wealth, because I really, like, truly was enjoying all the Kiryu stuff. But I was just like, oh, how much longer is this gonna go? Like, how much of this do I need? I could be playing, like, and this is like all the other games I could think of was like, I could be playing this instead. We're also just other 100-hour games. So I don't know. Like, at some point, it's just like, I don't know how to reconcile all of that. It seems absurd to be like, oh, I'm playing too much Infinite Wealth. I should start playing Persona 4, or I should start playing Dragon Quest 11. That'll solve all my infinite gaming problems.
Right. Yeah. If you need a 100-hour game, there are plenty to choose from.
Yeah, it's like, sick of this 100-hour game. I'm going to play this other 100-hour game
Let
instead.
me go play another 100-hour game, yeah.
You know what game is significantly less than 100 hours, though? Is Mouthwashing.
Mouthwashing, correct.
Can you imagine if this game was 100 hours long?
I cannot. Nope.
It's very brief. It's very, very nice change of pace from Infinite Wealth.
Yeah, I do like a single sitting game. This was 2 for me. This is just under 5 hours, right? Then
I think I did this in one go. I may have taken like a coffee break, but yeah, I played this all Saturday morning. Saturday morning seemed like the perfect time to play a game like this.
Yeah, this was a weekend excursion for me as well. I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into. Now that I've played it, I'm kind of glad it's not 100 hours long, because it is not a pleasant experience.
Yeah. It's like it's not as intense as I was expecting. I had heard a lot. I mean, if you just read the disclaimer on the Steam page, it's like, sounds like pretty heavy stuff. I mean, and it is pretty heavy stuff. The Steam page is like, graphic violence and mutilation. Despite the game looking, it's sort of like the PS1 retro aesthetic.
Right.
But I had heard this described as just being like, people have to like get up and like step away from the game for a while. And I was just, for some reason, expecting that sort of intensity just from start to finish, and that was thankfully not the case. It does get to that point several times throughout, but
Yeah.
I found the opening, like, at least the first hour or so, to be fairly mild.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a lot of like setting things up that kind of happens there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a sort of progression of events. So we should say sort of what is Mouthwashing about?
Yeah.
It is a small crew on a shipping vessel, a spaceship, on a long, over year long tour that has some sort of incident or malfunction where they find themselves stuck adrift, I guess, and things get dire from there.
Yeah. Classic sci-fi premise.
Sure. And it feels quite claustrophobic. And you and the rest of your limited cast of characters really do start kind of getting into each other's heads and getting into each other's way. And things go progressively more sideways as you make your way through the game.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And I'm being cagey because I don't want to sort of over describe and give away some potential spoiler here. But it, I think it does something kind of interesting with, like you said, kind of a sci-fi trope. It is very character driven. It's not a horror game in the sense that like Resident Evil is a horror game. At no point is someone chasing you with like a chainsaw. There's no, there is like spooky encounters, but there's a lot of body horror. I think the mutilation thing is a fair warning.
Yeah, I was I was also sort of expecting it to be more pervasive because like all over the promo stuff and like the website, you just see that there's this one character in the game who is like a burn victim basically, and he has bandages all over his face, and it's like a really, kind of ghastly image, and he's just like the face of the game. So I was like, oh, is this like that's sort of the whole aesthetic throughout this thing? Like, what? Because I didn't really know what to expect. I was barely even aware of like the game taking place on a spaceship when I started it up. But he's just sort of like, that's just how one of the crew ends up. It's not like they're all like that. That's just something that happened during the course of whatever happened to the ship.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I'm sort of thankful because I was really expecting to have a very difficult time getting through this because like super graphic horror is really not my thing. But it felt a lot more to me like I had like jokingly referenced Requiem for a Dream the last time we talked about this. And like that's not a horror movie, but really like intense, heavy stuff happens in that.
Sure. But it's quite horrific. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like the natural like end point of events in that movie. And I feel like that is sort of the same deal with Mouthwashing. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is sort of naturally where the plot ends up. And it's not, it's not fully horrific the entire way through.
Yeah. Yes. I think it starts off quite interesting, and it does feel a bit more like sort of like a standard sci-fi kind of jaunt.
The opening scene in this is so good. It's incredible.
But yeah, there is a pretty significant escalation of events as you start to get to know the personalities on board and start to unpack the sort of series of events that led to the situation that you find yourself in now, and how all of these people sort of came to be together. It's intriguing. Like I said, it's way more character driven than I was expecting it to be. I think there is the thing that I like about it is there sort of is an efficiency to the way that the characters kind of communicate with each other. I think the instinct in video games sometimes is like more dialogue is better. And there is not that in Mouthwashing. I think like you get enough of the sense of the characters from what they do say, and some are more chatty than others. But I never felt like I was paging through hundreds of hours of dialogue trying to get to the point.
Yes.
And I appreciate their editing in a way that anybody on the Yakuza team probably could take a lesson.
Yes, yeah. Good parallel. Now I had sort of the same reaction. Like all the dialogue and their interactions feel very natural and not overly sort of like pandering to the audience. Like you don't get a lot of just obvious exposition.
Yeah.
You're left to like piece together a lot of things because a lot of it also takes place sort of like chronologically out of order. So you see stuff that happens after the big incident and the stuff that happens before, and it all comes together in a really satisfying way.
Yeah, I like that too. I like sort of shuffling the timeline around.
Yeah.
I think that was a good way to like get you invested into the mystery. I also like that it kind of messes around with the main character a little bit. Is that you do alternate between characters that you occupy and play as, but the game never tells you that, at least not sort of initially explicitly. So you ultimately you find yourself sort of as the player with access to different information. Depending on who you're occupying, and that's not quite clear to you initially. So I like that. I feel like there's kind of an interesting, kind of very cinematic, kind of gamey trick happening there.
I really wish more games would like just be brave enough to do this.
Yeah.
Like again with the Yakuza thing, it like you spend so much time sort of like jumping around, whether it's through the timeline or between different characters in this game. You just get like different scenes as you would be presented as if you're watching a movie or something. And I this is before I even played Mouthwashing, but there are so many points in Yakuza where they're like, oh, we have to, go to the airport, or we have to go over to the hotel on the other side of the island or whatever. And I was like, you could just cut to them getting out of a car in front of the airport or whatever. I don't need to physically walk him over there. I mean, it's a totally different game, so that's not the best comparison, but it makes me think a lot of stuff like Virginia, the game from, it's been a while, that was very like cinematically edited.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was
unique
so,
because it was kind of dialogue free, but conveyed a ton.
Yeah. But it, again, a very different style of game, but just something you rarely see in video games. Like just having the courage to like, oh, let's just cut away from that scene or this character and just get on with the sort of progression of everything for the sake of, having a more efficient plot or a more tightly edited experience.
There is, for anybody who's played this or wants to play it, on Steam, which I think is the only... Oh, no, it's on PS5 now, I believe.
I think it's coming to more things. Is it already on PS5?
Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaking it for the coming soon trailer, because like in the last week, I think it was announced.
Yeah, I think
at the Sony event recently. So,
oh really?
Yeah. But yes, if you go to the Steam page for Mouthwashing after you play the game, don't do this before. The devs have done a series of 5 kind of community Q&As where they talk about kind of their writing process and their editing process, more importantly. And they talk a bit about some of the scenes and chunks of dialogue and stuff that got trimmed back. If you watch some of the old trailers for Mouthwashing, there are things that are not in the game because they ultimately got edited. And I think, man, the game developers could use more editing. I think, I really sort of admire the leanness and efficiency of Mouthwashing. It does sort of require you to like fill in some of the blanks, but I'm not an idiot, and and yes. I'm game for that challenge. I
don't mind thinking every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't need my hand held all the time, just in Mario games. But yeah, I really liked this game. I'm on Wings of Angels for this developer. Whatever they want to do next, I will play, because I think there is something very unique and what am I looking for here? There's something very kind of like confident about the way that they've sort of tackled doing a horror game, doing something that could, in the hands of anyone else be a big dumb space shooter or something like that. And this is small and claustrophobic and appropriately intense at times with kind of occasional moments of levity. I really sort of like what they've assembled here. I played it quite obsessively for 2 game sessions. In the period where I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about how quickly I could get back to playing it so I could see what happens. It's just really good. I thought it was really freaking exciting to experience something like this, and I'm glad I got to play it when I did.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I was like, I kind of went into it with a weird expectation because I read this article talking about at one point a few of the characters have a conversation about how they're sort of stuck in this dead-end job working on this long-haul freighter. And that was sort of like the article angle. And I thought, oh, is that what this game is about? Is this just like a very like introspective look into like a space freighter as a metaphor for working in a job like this or something? I don't know. And that turned out to be not entirely accurate.
Yeah.
I fully expected this, like before I started playing it, to just turn into something like the beginner's guide. Where it was just like, oh, suddenly it's just talking about this guy's sort of like career experiences. But it turned out to be just sort of like an incidental conversation halfway through the game.
But I can see that, though. I think there's definitely a layer.
I think you probably extend that to more of the game than it appears to affect initially.
Yeah.
But despite my expectations being completely off, I did really enjoy this. It's been a long time since I played just, a tight little, like, narrative game like this. It actually, it made me think a lot of 1000 Times Resist, actually.
Oh, interesting.
That game is much longer, but it's also told in a very similar way. There's a lot of like jumping around, and I like there are so many sequences in this where I just thought the visuals were so confident, like you said is a good word. There's a lot of sequences that are sort of like surreal. Not sure. I won't get into too much detail, but I think they did an amazing job with that. And it was something I noticed playing 1000 Times Resist as well. It's just like I played that on the Switch, and it was not the technical accomplishment of the generation, but the aesthetics were so well done that it didn't matter that I was playing on the Switch. It was just like visually just incredible the whole time. And I got a lot of that from this game as well. I think you would really enjoy that. Yeah, I think you should, play that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's sitting on my Steam Deck waiting to be played. So yeah, maybe that's where I need to go next.
Yeah.
Yeah. How I got to Mouthwashing is I think this popped up quite a bit on the end of year lists last year for like kind of game of the year, and a lot of outlets kind of list of top 10 favorite games. And the title tells you nothing, and the sort of like the header card on Steam tells you nothing. It's just kind of that creepy bandaged bloody eyeball.
Yeah.
That sort of creates an expectation to a certain degree of like, what is this thing, Mouthwashing? What does that even mean? And then I had also read something about it, sort of like people on TikTok really liked this game,
really?
and were turning into like, and I'm not on TikTok, so I've not experienced this, but it like had turned it into memes, and there was like fan art of the characters and stuff, and I was like, oh, am I not going to like this game? Is this a game for like Gen Z people?
It's the next Undertale.
Yeah. So then again, like, I kept finding a lot of reasons that like I won't like Mouthwashing. And it got a price drop, and I could not resist the reviews anymore of people including it in their favorite games of the year, and just decided to give it a shot. And I had also read that it's fairly short and you can kind of get through it. I wish I had ignored all of those things and played it months ago.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not aware of any Mouthwashing memes. Kind of scared to take a look.
Google mouthwashing fan art, or go to the.
I've seen some cool fan art. There's just,
Yeah.
I think, on the Steam forums, I think.
People have very strong opinions about who their favorite characters are and are shipping certain fans and things.
It's just like, I don't know if I like really like liked any of the characters. They're all kind of like gross.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, whatever. People will, they've always got their, I don't know. I'm too old to pull any slang out about that. So.
So yeah, take a flyer on this. I think if you are quite sensitive to kind of body horror and things like that, this might not be your thing. But if you can stomach that and get through some of the more horrific bits of this, there's a really good story here with really compelling characters, kind of told in a very unique way. And I would absolutely recommend it to anybody who has kind of the patience for video gaming in its more kind of experimental mode.
Yeah. I say this every time a game like this comes out, but I'm so pleased that we're getting more of these like PS1 era like graphical games. And there was a note from the it was like the writer or the producer talking about how they felt freed knowing that they didn't have to produce a game with like modern AAA production values. So they could do something sort of like on the PS1 level. And I think it like it works great for this. I've said before, it like works great for horror games, especially. I don't think it really matters that this has horror elements. I think it still looks really amazing with sort of the graphics that they have.
I think that's sort of ironic because I in general I associate PS1 games with not looking very good. I think it was a very awkward era in video game development.
That's true. That's still true.
But I think Mouthwashing looks great, and I think sort of the style of it kind of fits the tone and the efficiency of it. So
yeah.
It would be hard to imagine this looking any other way.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you dug it. Again, that's one of those things where I was sort of like, DJ will either love or hate this game. I tend to like horror more than you, but you do play a lot of spooky Saturday games through October.
Yeah, I still I don't know if I consider this a horror game.
Yeah.
It's funny because it definitely like that's how I've seen it described the most. But I was like, no, it's just I don't know. It's just a game where terrible things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some pretty horrific people in it.
Yeah, the people are not great.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll have to find out what the hell mouthwashing means and is about for yourself.
Oh, just a really gross title. That's sort of like that also kind of colored my expectations because it's just like really I don't know what it is. I don't have anything against mouthwash, but mouthwash is like a verb just sounds really gross combined with the image of the guy in the bandages. I'm just like, I don't feel good about this.
It's a bit of a bait and switch though.
It's kind of like has a whole different meaning after having played
it's like,
it.
Look over here while it's sort of doing something with the other hand.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Anyway, Hello Kitty.
And that's why Bats Maru is my favorite Samurai.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, I was looking up other platforms. It is coming soon this spring to PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. So not yet, it appears, but if you have a Steam Deck, I played the entire thing on my Steam Deck and it ran great, no issues. But yeah, Steam is the only place to kind of get it right now.
I'm so excited for this to pop up on the Switch eShop. It'll just be like Diddy Kong Racing and Super Mario Wonder, and then just the gross burn victim on the front of the eShop. People be like, what's this?
Yeah. Well, good. I think it's one of those things like the less you know, the better. So definitely don't go down a rabbit hole of like, what is mouthwashing about? Just, if you have $13 and a couple hours to kill, check this thing out.
I think I don't know. I don't feel like it's as volatile for like as spoilable as I was sort of expecting based on a lot of other people's descriptions.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I still don't advocate for. I definitely prefer to just go into anything, knowing as little as possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know if mouthwashing is like more of a case for that.
All right. Well, we should wrap this thing up, probably.
Yeah.
If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Blue Sky. Just search for VGHangover.com. Don't forget, you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com as well. We would love for you to join us on Discord. You can hang out with us and chat about video games and other fun things. There is a link to that at, hold on, you won't believe it, at VGHangover.com.
Oh.
Please subscribe, rate, review us on your podcasting app of choice. We are on most of them, if not all of them. And maybe hook us up with a referral to one of your friends. Tell them about the show.
Yeah. Tell your friend who's looking for a podcast in the 1 hour to an hour and 20 minute time frame.
Yeah.
Or just lie to your friend and tell them that we do a 3-hour show every week. We do a 15-minute show every weekday. I don't know. We do appreciate it if you tell your friends, though.
We're going to get some emails, some comments about efficiency and editing. We don't do a lot of editing here at Video Game Hangover. We just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, all of this goes directly into the feed. We just hit stop on the recording, and that's what you get.
Yep.
I don't know. Whatever. Nobody knows how this show gets made.
Let alone the guy who makes it.
No. Who even knows at this point? Speaking of, I don't know where this is going. But anyway, we want to give special thanks again to RJ Lake for our intro and outro music this week. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com. It may or may not be Bandcamp Friday this week. Nobody knows when Bandcamp Friday is, but feel free to go over there and check.
But it is historically the first Friday of the month, and that would be this Friday. So
I keep thinking that's true, and then it's not. So
all right.
I'm just going to leave this in here. I'm not going to edit it out. So you can, go check for yourselves.
Yeah, because as we established, we don't edit anything out.
Right.
We'll be back next week. Monday night, we'll be streaming Wanderstop. Make sure you tune in at 10 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/VGHangover for that.
Yes.
And then back the following week with another exciting 2+ hour long episode in your ears.
We'll still be recording this week's episode at that point.
Right. We're just going to let it go.
Yeah.
My ride to work tomorrow, I'll just narrate that whole thing. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.